The moment your wife asks for space with a calm voice and a packed suitcase, the marriage already entered the negotiation phase. Olivia said it while organizing the kitchen drawer with the same steady rhythm she used when sorting receipts or balancing monthly expenses. I think we need a break, Daniel. She kept her eyes on the silverware tray while she spoke, which told me more than the sentence itself. People look away when they already rehearsed the conversation in their head. I stayed seated at the island, one hand around a coffee mug that had gone cold 20 minutes earlier, watching the precision behind her movements. Olivia never acted impulsively. That mattered. She folded tension into structure. Every difficult conversation arrived cleaned up, timed carefully, emotionally prepackaged. 3 weeks, she added. I need room to think clearly. Then she slid the drawer shut and finally looked at me. Calm face, controlled breathing, neutral posture. She expected resistance. She prepared for emotion. She came armed for negotiation. I gave her neither. Okay, I said. Her expression shifted for half a second. Tiny movement near the eyes. She expected questions. Instead, she got acceptance, and acceptance disrupted the rhythm she planned. Olivia recovered quickly. She always did. That's it, she asked carefully. You're just okay with this? I took a sip from the coffee anyway. Bitter. Room temperature. You already made the decision before bringing it to me, I said. The conversation only changes logistics. Silence settled between us. Heavy silence reveals more than arguments ever will. Olivia crossed her arms loosely, studying me now instead of the kitchen. I haven't done anything wrong, Daniel. Interesting sentence. I never mentioned cheating. I never mentioned another man. Yet her mind moved there immediately. People defend the accusation they already carry internally. I didn't say you did, I replied. Another pause. Olivia glanced toward the hallway leading to our bedroom. I'll stay with Claire for a few weeks. There it was. Prepared destination. Prepared timeline. Prepared emotional framing. She turned toward the stairs and started packing. Within 10 minutes. That part fascinated me most. No hesitation. No wandering around deciding what mattered. Olivia selected items with executive-level efficiency. Laptop. Passport. Jewelry case. Black portfolio folder from her office. Financial documents. Tax binder. 2 designer dresses still wrapped in dry cleaning plastic. She skipped framed photos. Skipped sentimental gifts. Skipped the anniversary scrapbook she once cried over after too much wine on our 10th anniversary trip to Sedona. That told me everything. She packed for operational continuity, not emotional recovery. I stayed downstairs and opened our joint banking app while she moved upstairs. Just observation. Pure pattern analysis. 3 credit card transactions from earlier that afternoon already sat pending. Boutique hotel downtown. 43 minutes from our house. 1 reservation charge. 1 valet pre-authorization. 1 restaurant deposit connected to rooftop dining. Olivia booked the room 6 hours before asking for space. My thumb hovered over the transaction details while a strange calm settled into my chest. Anger burns hot. Clarity arrives cold. I enlarged the hotel charge and saw something else attached to the booking confirmation. 2 guest meal vouchers redeemed under corporate rewards status linked to her employer account. 2 guests, not 1. Upstairs, a suitcase will rolled across hardwood flooring with smooth, practiced movement. And for the first time that night, I realized my wife never planned a break from our marriage. She planned a transition out of it. Olivia left at 8:14 that night with 2 suitcases, her work tote, and the black leather document folder tucked under her arm like it mattered more than the marriage she had just paused. I stood in the entryway after the door closed and replayed the last hour piece by piece, separating emotion from sequence. Sequence always reveals intent faster than feelings do. I opened our shared banking dashboard again and exported the previous 90 days into a spreadsheet. Every transfer, every restaurant, every recurring subscription. Olivia handled most of our travel bookings because she claimed I hated logistics, which meant she also controlled the rhythm of concealment. That pattern started surfacing within 20 minutes. 3 dinner reservations canceled within the same hour during the previous month. 2 replacement reservations booked under corporate billing. 1 luxury apartment deposit hidden inside a reimbursement line labeled client retention strategy. Clever structure. Sloppy repetition. People grow careless when routine starts protecting them. I highlighted every transaction connected to downtown Chicago within a 5-mile radius of that boutique hotel. 12 entries appeared. Too many for coincidence. My phone buzzed while I worked. Olivia. I made it safely. Short message. Clean wording. Emotional neutrality. I stared at it for several seconds before setting the phone face down beside my laptop. Then I opened our wireless account activity logs. Olivia upgraded her cloud storage package 3 weeks earlier. Additional encrypted space. Increased upload traffic between midnight and 2 in the morning almost every Thursday. Large data movement always interests me because affairs create archives. Photos, receipts, backup plans, conversations people convince themselves they will eventually delete. Around 11:30 p.m., I called Ethan Brooks. He practiced corporate law downtown and spent 15 years untangling executive divorces that started with emotional betrayal and ended with financial warfare. Ethan listened quietly while I walked him through the hotel charges and reimbursement patterns. Freeze nothing yet, he said. Watch first. People expose strategy once they think they control the timeline. Then his tone shifted slightly. More focused. Daniel, check beneficiary updates. That landed harder than anything else he said. I logged into our investment portal immediately. Retirement accounts untouched. Brokerage accounts stable. Life insurance policy updated 8 days earlier. Olivia removed her sister as contingent beneficiary and inserted a new name beneath emergency authorization access. Ryan Mercer. I leaned back slowly in my chair and read the name 3 times. Senior regional director at her company. Married. 2 kids. 47 years old. Olivia mentioned him. Before. Casual references. Team dinners. Corporate restructuring meetings. Nothing dramatic. That is how these situations survive. Repetition disguises significance. I opened LinkedIn and found his profile within seconds. Same polished executive smile every corporate predator develops after enough boardrooms and enough practice charm. Then I noticed something else. Ryan Mercer purchased a downtown condominium 6 months earlier through a property LLC registered under a management holding company. Same zip code as the boutique hotel. Same district tied to Olivia's hidden reimbursement entries. My stomach tightened for the first time all night because the pattern expanded beyond attraction. This looked operational. Coordinated. Planned weeks ahead. I closed the laptop and finally picked my phone back up. Another message from Olivia waited on the screen. This one came with a photo attachment. A wine glass beside a rooftop skyline view. One place setting visible. A second reflection faintly mirrored against the window behind her. And sitting near the edge of the table, almost outside the frame, rested a silver watch I recognized immediately because I had seen Ryan Mercer wear it at our Christmas party 4 months earlier. By the 3rd day, Olivia stopped sending emotional messages and shifted into maintenance mode. Short updates. Controlled wording. Predictable timing. Hope work went well. Do not forget your dentist appointment Thursday. Please water the plant in the office. That kind of communication serves a purpose. It keeps the emotional bridge standing while the other person quietly exits across it. I answered twice during the first 48 hours, then stopped completely. Silence changes dynamics faster than confrontation because silence removes feedback. People start filling empty space with their own fears. I spent that week building a timeline instead. Every transaction connected to Ryan Mercer went into a spreadsheet. Every reimbursement code. Every overlapping travel date. Every shared conference attendance record. Patterns started tightening around specific windows. February, Denver Corporate Summit. March, Client Retreat in Miami. April, Leadership Dinner in Chicago. Same hotel groups. Same expense categories. Same delayed reimbursements processed manually through Olivia's department instead of automated accounting review. That detail mattered because manual processing leaves room for narrative control. I called Ethan again Thursday afternoon and forwarded him the files. 20 minutes later, he called back. Your wife moved differently than most people, he said. This looks structured. I leaned back in my chair, eyes fixed on the open spreadsheet glowing across my monitor. Affair? I asked. Ethan paused briefly. Affairs create emotional chaos. This feels closer to transition planning. That sentence stayed with me longer than anything else he said. Transition planning. The phrase sounded clinical. Corporate. Efficient. Like a merger preparing to close. I opened our shared cloud storage again and checked archival activity logs instead of current folders. Most people hide information in deletion patterns, not visible files. Olivia removed 6 years of scanned tax records from the family archive 3 weeks earlier, then re-uploaded compressed copies under a private encrypted folder linked to a secondary email address. She also downloaded PDF copies of our mortgage documents, investment summaries, and property insurance valuations within the same 30-minute period. People preparing emotionally for divorce browse articles. People preparing strategically gather leverage. Around 9 p.m., I received a fraud alert from Chase regarding unusual login behavior tied to our joint savings account. Same city as the boutique hotel. Same device type Olivia used. I opened the activity log immediately. She viewed the account 3 times within 10 minutes. Then she opened our retirement projection calculator. Then our home equity line. Then the transaction history tied to my business operating account. My pulse slowed instead of rising because clarity had started replacing shock completely. Olivia no longer looked like someone chasing excitement. She looked like someone calculating survivability. I transferred half my consulting revenue into a newly established LLC account Ethan helped structure earlier. That afternoon. Legal. Transparent. Documented. Clean separation. Then I froze future automatic transfers tied to discretionary household spending. No dramatic financial warfare. Just controlled containment. At 11:17 p.m., my phone lit up again. Olivia sent another photo. This time she stood inside a luxury condo kitchen, holding a wine glass with downtown lights stretching behind her. She wore one of the sweaters I bought her in Aspen 2 winters earlier. Her caption carried only 4 words. Thinking about everything lately. I enlarged the image slowly. Quartz countertops. High-rise unit. Wolf range. Custom cabinetry. Expensive, but temporary. Then my eyes stopped on the reflection inside the stainless steel refrigerator behind her. Ryan Mercer stood several feet away talking on his phone while pointing toward an open folder spread across the kitchen island. Mortgage papers rested beside 2 pens and what looked exactly like a property transfer document with Olivia's signature halfway across the bottom page. I printed the photo Olivia sent and laid it beside the transaction spreadsheet covering my dining table. People reveal priorities through repetition, and Olivia kept circling the same 3 things every time she communicated with me. Emotional ambiguity, financial positioning, and controlled visibility. She wanted me aware enough to feel uncertain, but stable enough to avoid escalation. That strategy works on spouses still trapped inside denial. By then, denial had already burned out of my system. Saturday morning, Ethan arranged a private meeting with a forensic accountant named Laura Bennett. Mid-50s. Sharp posture. Steel gray blazer. The kind of woman who reads financial statements the same way surgeons read scans. I forwarded her every document, screenshot, reimbursement report, and metadata archive I collected during the previous week. Laura spent 40 minutes reviewing the files without speaking much. Then she tapped one specific reimbursement entry connected to Atlas Strategic Consulting, the outside vendor Ryan Mercer frequently used through his company. This line item matters, she said calmly, because this invoice never closed through standard approval channels. I leaned forward slightly. Laura rotated the laptop toward me and highlighted the authorization trail. Olivia approved multiple vendor reimbursements tied to Ryan's division during the previous 8 months. Small amounts individually, significant totals collectively. Hotel upgrades, executive transportation, condo staging fees hidden under leadership conference preparation expenses. My jaw tightened slowly because the affair suddenly looked smaller than the structure underneath it. You think they stole money? I asked. Laura shook her head once. I think they blurred professional and personal spending while building a parallel life. Then she opened county property records connected to Ryan Mercer's LLC. One document appeared immediately. Property transfer consultation request. Olivia Carter listed as future occupancy reference. Drafted 3 weeks before she asked me for space. That timing settled heavily inside my chest because it erased the final illusion that this separation started emotionally. She built exit routes long before speaking to me. Around noon, my phone vibrated again. Olivia this time. Can we talk later tonight? I stared at the message while Laura continued reviewing transaction chains beside me. 10 seconds later, another text arrived. I feel distance between us. I almost laughed at the wording. Distance. Interesting choice from someone sleeping inside another man's condominium while reorganizing joint assets behind my back. I left the message unanswered and shifted focus back toward the financial review. Laura isolated another pattern tied to retirement exposure. Olivia downloaded our pension estimates repeatedly during the previous month, each login occurring shortly after communication spikes between her and Ryan Mercer. Coordinated planning again. Every road led back to preparation. Every preparation led toward permanence. By late afternoon, Ethan called with another update. Ryan's wife hired counsel yesterday, he said quietly. I stopped moving for the first time all day. What changed? Ethan exhaled slowly. Someone sent anonymous financial records to her private email account around 3 this morning. Silence stretched between us. My mind immediately started mapping possibilities. Olivia panicked. Ryan slipped. Internal accounting flagged discrepancies. Or someone else entered the board entirely. There is more, Ethan added. Ryan transferred $600,000 from a business development account into the condominium holding company 48 hours ago. That changed everything. Affairs survive scandal. Financial investigations destroy entire careers. I ended the call and opened the photo Olivia sent the night before one more time. This time I zoomed deeper into the reflection behind Ryan. A television screen mounted near the kitchen displayed a paused email draft large enough to read several words clearly across the dark glass reflection. Subject line, Emergency Asset Protection Strategy. And beneath it, partially visible near the bottom of the screen, sat my full legal name. The next morning, I stopped reacting emotionally and started operating strategically. That shift changed everything. Pain wastes energy. Structure converts it into leverage. By 7:30 a.m., Ethan filed preliminary separation protections through a private legal hold agreement designed to freeze large asset movement without triggering formal litigation. Quiet paperwork. Temporary containment. Olivia still believed she controlled timing because she remained focused on emotional positioning while I moved toward financial preservation. I spent the first half of the day restructuring exposure connected to my consulting business. New operating accounts. Updated vendor payment routing. Fresh authentication credentials across every banking platform. Laura walked me through each step over video conference with the precision of someone dismantling a bomb. Affairs thrive on emotion, she said while reviewing my revised account permissions. Financial predators rely on delay. That sentence stayed with me because Olivia's behavior finally made complete sense. She kept sending emotionally soft messages while simultaneously reviewing retirement projections, property transfers, and shared account liquidity. She wanted calm on the surface while preparing movement underneath it. Around noon, another message arrived from her. I feel like you are pulling away from me. I stared at the words for several seconds before setting the phone aside again. Pulling away. Interesting phrase from someone already building a second home with another man. I ignored the message and continued auditing our household records instead. Utility statements. Insurance renewals. Vehicle title access logs. Then another detail surfaced. Olivia submitted a digital forwarding request through USPS 6 days earlier connected to temporary mail redirection toward Ryan's condominium address. Temporary requests usually signal testing behavior. People preparing permanent exits often simulate logistics before committing fully. I forwarded the documentation to Ethan immediately. 15 minutes later, he called back. She is accelerating, he said, which means pressure already reached their side. He sounded calmer than before, almost analytical now. Ryan's company opened an internal expense review this morning. That explained the urgency. The anonymous email someone sent to Ryan's wife probably triggered collateral scrutiny inside the company itself. Once accounting departments start reviewing reimbursement patterns, panic spreads fast among people hiding parallel financial arrangements. By late afternoon, Olivia finally called instead of texting. I let the phone ring 4 times before answering. Hey, she said softly. Careful voice. Measured breathing. Controlled vulnerability. You have been distant. I leaned back in my office chair and watched my laptop screen cycle through transaction records tied to Ryan's LLC. You asked for space? I replied evenly. Silence followed immediately. Short silence. Heavy silence. Then Olivia shifted tactics. This whole thing became more complicated than I expected. There it was. First honest sentence she had spoken in days. Complicated. Meaning Ryan's promises started colliding with reality. Meaning the fantasy environment inside that luxury condominium had begun cracking under financial pressure and legal exposure. "Are you safe?" she asked next. The question sounded strange enough that I stopped moving entirely. Safe from what? Another pause. Longer this time. "Nothing," she answered quickly. Too quickly. Then she ended the call less than a minute later. I sat there replaying her tone inside my head while instincts started tightening somewhere deep in my chest. Fear changes cadence. Olivia sounded afraid for the first time since leaving the house. 10 minutes later, Laura forwarded me an urgent email flagged from Ryan Mercer's corporate archive through a forensic metadata trace connected to reimbursement records already under review. Subject line: Immediate exposure containment. Attached beneath it sat a scanned PDF containing projected divorce asset estimates for both Ryan Mercer and Olivia Carter. And at the bottom of the final page, directly under Olivia's signature, someone had typed a sentence in bold red letters. Daniel Carter cannot discover the transfer schedule before Monday. Monday arrived with the kind of clarity that only comes after enough evidence removes every remaining illusion. I woke up before sunrise, opened my laptop, and reviewed the transfer schedules Laura flagged the night before. 3 outgoing movements sat queued inside our shared financial ecosystem. One linked to a brokerage liquidation request. One tied to a consulting escrow account Ryan controlled through his holding company. The third connected to a temporary trust structure carrying Olivia's digital authorization signature. They planned to execute everything within 48 hours. Quietly, cleanly, efficiently. I called Ethan at 6:10 a.m. "Freeze every shared authorization connected to my signature authority," I said immediately. No hesitation anymore. No emotional delay. Ethan moved fast. Emergency banking notices. Revocation letters. Temporary legal barriers. By 8 a.m., every major institution connected to our shared assets received formal documentation requiring dual verification for large transfers. Perfectly legal. Perfectly timed. Olivia still believed she operated ahead of me because she measured the situation emotionally while I shifted entirely toward containment and documentation. Around 11:20 a.m., my phone lit up again. Olivia this time. "Can I stop by the house tonight?" I stared at the message. While reviewing updated corporate filings tied to Ryan Mercer's Condominium LLC. 3 days earlier, Ryan amended ownership percentages connected to the property structure. Olivia's name vanished completely from the draft occupancy paperwork Laura uncovered. That detail explained the fear in Olivia's voice during our last phone call. Ryan had started protecting himself. "Sure," I replied finally. Simple answer. No emotion attached. Her typing bubble appeared instantly, then disappeared, then returned again. "Thank you." That was it. Short messages always carry more weight once people realize control has shifted away from them. The rest of the afternoon unfolded quietly. Laura continued tracing reimbursement trails inside Ryan's company, while Ethan finalized separation protections around my business revenue streams. Around 4:30 p.m., another update arrived from Ryan's corporate office through the internal contact Laura cultivated inside accounting compliance. Executive review meeting scheduled Wednesday morning. Mandatory audit attendance for Ryan Mercer and Olivia Carter. Internal investigations moved slowly at first, then suddenly all at once. By evening, I walked through the house differently than before. I removed framed wedding photos from the living room shelves and stored them inside a hallway closet beside old tax binders and archived insurance records. I cleared half the master bedroom closet and transferred Olivia's remaining belongings into labeled storage containers stacked neatly against the garage wall. No anger behind any of it. Just reorganization. Reality adjusting itself physically inside the home. At 7:14 p.m., the front door unlocked. Olivia stepped inside carrying the same leather tote bag she brought the night she left. She froze almost immediately. Small details hit first. Empty picture frames. Missing artwork. The absence of her shoes near the staircase. Then her eyes moved toward the kitchen island where a clean manila folder rested beside a silver pen and a business card carrying Ethan Brooks' law firm information. Olivia set her bag down slowly. Her posture shifted in stages. First confusion, then calculation, then something heavier settling. Underneath both. Daniel, she said quietly. I stayed seated at the dining table with my laptop open beside me, transaction spreadsheets still glowing across the screen. You changed the house. I updated it, I answered evenly. Silence stretched between us while her eyes moved again toward the hallway leading to our bedroom. Then she noticed the final detail. Her wedding ring sat alone beside the legal folder exactly where her coffee mug used to rest every morning for the last 11 years. Olivia stared at it for several seconds before speaking again. Ryan lied to me, she whispered. And for the first time since she walked out 3 weeks earlier, I realized she finally understood the same thing I had known since the beginning. She was never the exception in his life. She was the contingency plan. Olivia lowered herself slowly into the chair across from me like the house itself had become unfamiliar territory. Her eyes kept drifting toward the wedding ring on the counter, then toward the legal folder, then back to me again. People search for emotional openings when control starts collapsing. She wanted reassurance somewhere inside the room. She found structure instead. Ryan told me the company audit was routine, she said quietly. Then his attorney started calling him every hour. I stayed silent and let her continue because silence pressures people into honesty faster than confrontation ever will. Olivia rubbed her palms together once before speaking again. He moved money around without telling me everything. That sentence carried careful wording. She still framed herself adjacent to the problem instead of inside it. You signed transfer documents, I replied evenly. That moves you inside it. Her shoulders tightened immediately. Daniel, I never wanted this to become. She stopped halfway through the sentence because even she realized she no longer knew how to finish it. An affair? A financial investigation? A divorce strategy? A failed escape plan? Some situations collapse under the weight of too many truths arriving at once. I closed the laptop in front of me and folded my hands together calmly. How long? I asked. Olivia looked down toward the floor for several seconds before answering. 8 months emotionally, she whispered. 3 months physically involved. The honesty arrived late, but at least it finally arrived clean. You already had the condo prepared before asking for space, I said. You downloaded our financial records weeks earlier. You redirected mail. You reviewed retirement projections. Her eyes snapped back toward mine immediately. Fear this time. Genuine fear. You tracked all of that. You left a trail behind every decision. Silence stretched again. Longer now. Heavier. Olivia leaned back slowly in the chair and pressed both hands against her forehead like the pressure inside her mind had finally become too large to contain cleanly. Ryan said you would panic emotionally, she admitted quietly. He thought you would fight publicly first. He said that would buy us time. I almost smiled at that because Ryan made the same mistake many arrogant men make. He assumed emotion would slow me down while he organized logistics behind the scenes. Instead, clarity accelerated everything. He underestimated me, I said calmly. Olivia looked up again. Her expression shifted slightly at those words because she realized something important in that moment. I had already emotionally detached from the marriage weeks earlier. The version of me she expected to manipulate through guilt and confusion no longer existed inside this house. I made a mistake, she said finally. There it was. The standard sentence people reach for once consequences become visible. I held her gaze steadily. You made a sequence of decisions, I corrected quietly. Careful ones. Repeated ones. Her eyes watered instantly after that. First visible crack since she returned. She looked around the kitchen again like she was seeing the consequences physically now instead of abstractly. Empty spaces where photos used to stand. Half the house reorganized. Her belongings packed into containers in the garage. Legal paperwork waiting patiently beside the ring she left behind emotionally long before removing it physically. Ryan told me he was filing for divorce, she whispered. Then this morning his wife froze several accounts and his attorney told him to stop communicating with me directly. I leaned back slowly in my chair while studying her expression carefully. Panic had replaced confidence entirely now. Ryan protected himself first. Predictable. Men like him always prioritize preservation over loyalty once exposure arrives. Then Olivia said something that shifted the entire room again. There is another problem, she said softly. The company thinks I helped move corporate reimbursement money through those vendor accounts. My expression stayed steady, but internally something clicked sharply into place. Because until that moment, I still believed Olivia mainly entered this situation emotionally. Now I realized she had stepped directly into financial liability alongside him. And based on the way her hands trembled against the edge of the counter, she had finally realized it too. Olivia stayed seated across from me long after the confession settled into the room. Her posture looked smaller now, compressed under the weight of consequences she failed to calculate early enough. She kept staring toward the legal folder like it might still contain some version of the future she expected when she walked out 3 weeks earlier. "I never thought things would spiral this far," she said quietly. That sentence revealed more than she intended. People rarely regret betrayal at the beginning. They regret collapse at the end. I opened the folder slowly and slid several documents across the table toward her. Temporary asset separation agreements, banking authorization revisions, property inventory records. Olivia looked down at them, then back at me again with visible disbelief. "You already prepared all this?" "I prepared it the moment I realized you already had." Silence again. Heavy silence. The kind that forces reality to settle completely into place. Olivia reached for the ring beside the folder, then stopped halfway there like even touching it felt dishonest now. "Daniel, I know how this looks." "It looks organized," I replied calmly. Because it was. Her eyes watered again after that. She stood slowly and walked toward the kitchen sink before bracing both palms against the counter edge. For several seconds, she just stood there breathing carefully, trying to regain some version of emotional control. Then she spoke again without turning around. "Ryan told me we would eventually tell people together," she whispered. "He said he needed time to structure the divorce correctly." I leaned back slightly in my chair while studying her reflection in the dark kitchen window. "Ryan structured protection for himself," I said evenly. "You confused that with commitment." That landed harder than anything else I had said all night, because she already knew it was true. The condo paperwork proved it. The ownership revisions proved it. The removal of her name from the occupancy filings proved it. Olivia finally turned back toward me, eyes red now, voice thinner than before. "I thought you would fight harder for us." Interesting sentence again. She still viewed emotional chaos as proof of love. "You left before the conversation started," I answered quietly. After that, I focused on reality. Her shoulders dropped slightly after hearing that, because she finally understood the most important shift of all. I no longer measured the situation emotionally. I measured it structurally, financially, legally, permanently. My phone buzzed against the table before either of us spoke again. "Ethan." I glanced at the screen briefly, then answered on speaker without moving my eyes away from Olivia. "Tell me." Ethan's voice came through calm and direct. "Corporate compliance suspended Ryan Mercer 30 minutes ago, pending investigation. Olivia Carter received formal audit notice effective tomorrow morning." Olivia closed her eyes instantly. Pure exhaustion this time. Ethan continued. "There is more. Ryan transferred remaining liquidity from the condo holding account into offshore retention assets earlier tonight." Olivia's eyes opened sharply after that. Panic replaced exhaustion immediately. "What does that mean?" she asked before I could answer. Ethan paused briefly on the line. "It means Ryan Mercer expects legal exposure large enough to protect himself internationally." Then the call ended. Olivia stood frozen beside the counter while the silence returned one final time. She grabbed her phone immediately and opened several messages rapidly, scrolling faster with each passing second. Her breathing changed first, then her expression, then the color drained completely from her face. "He blocked me," she whispered. I stayed seated without reacting because the ending already became obvious hours earlier. Ryan had started cutting liabilities loose one by one. Corporate exposure, financial records, the affair itself. And now Olivia finally understood the position she actually occupied inside his life. Temporary, replaceable, dangerous to keep close once consequences arrived. She looked toward me again then, eyes filled with the kind of realization that changes people permanently. I gave up my marriage for someone who already planned his escape route. I held her gaze steadily for several seconds before answering. "No," I said quietly. "You gave it up long before him. He was just the excuse you used to justify it." Olivia sat quietly at the kitchen counter while the reality she built over 8 months collapsed around her piece by piece. Her phone stayed face down beside her, untouched now, almost like she already knew every message waiting on the other side carried another layer of damage. I I gathered the legal documents from the table carefully and placed them back into the folder with the same calm rhythm I used during client negotiations and contract reviews for years. That calm unsettled her more than anger ever could. "So this is it?" she asked finally. Her voice sounded exhausted instead of emotional now. I looked at her for several seconds before answering because the question deserved precision. "This ended weeks ago," I said quietly. "Tonight only made it visible." Olivia lowered her eyes toward the wedding ring again. "I never meant to destroy everything." Another honest sentence. Late again, but honest. I stood slowly from the table and walked toward the hallway closet where I had stored the remaining photo frames earlier that evening. 11 years compressed into stacked rectangles of polished wood and frozen smiles. Anniversary trips, holiday dinners, backyard barbecues. Tiny ordinary moments that once felt permanent simply because we assumed repetition guaranteed stability. That assumption destroys more marriages than betrayal itself. I carried one framed photo back into the kitchen and set it gently on the counter between us. Sedona, 10-year anniversary. Olivia smiling against the desert skyline while holding my arm with both hands. I remembered taking that photo because she asked me 3 separate times to capture it correctly. "You know the strangest part?" I said calmly. I kept thinking the affair was the biggest betrayal. Olivia looked up slowly. "Then what was?" "The planning." Silence settled across the room again. Heavy. Final. "You built an exit strategy while still sleeping beside me every night. You reviewed retirement accounts. You redirected mail. You prepared property transfers. You studied my reactions before asking for space." Her eyes filled immediately after that because she understood I saw the entire structure clearly now. Every layer, every calculation, every carefully timed conversation. "I thought I had time to fix things if they went wrong," she whispered. "That is what people always think," I replied. "Until consequences arrive faster than fantasy." My phone buzzed one final time against the countertop. Ethan again. I glanced at the message preview only briefly before locking the screen again. Olivia noticed anyway. "What happened?" she asked carefully. I held her gaze for a moment before answering. "Ryan accepted a temporary settlement agreement with his company tonight. Full cooperation in exchange for reduced exposure." Olivia's face lost color instantly because she understood the implication before I explained it. Cooperation means documentation. Documentation means names, timelines, signatures, authorization trails. Ryan already started protecting himself by handing over everyone else. Olivia leaned back slowly in the chair and covered her mouth with one trembling hand. "He is going to blame me." I picked up the wedding ring from the counter and placed it gently beside the framed anniversary photo. 2 symbols sitting side by side now. One representing what we built, the other representing where it ended. "Ryan already made his decision," I said. "Evenly. The same way you made yours weeks ago." Then I walked toward the front door, grabbed my keys from the entry table, and paused briefly before leaving the house. Olivia looked smaller somehow, sitting alone under the kitchen lights surrounded by legal paperwork, packed storage boxes, and the remains of the life she thought would still be waiting if her new one failed. I opened the door and stepped outside without looking back because closure rarely arrives through dramatic endings. Most of the time, it arrives quietly the moment someone realizes loyalty only feels valuable after they trade it away for something temporary. And the last thing I heard before the door closed behind me was Olivia finally starting to cry after understanding one irreversible truth. Affairs promise escape. Consequences build the permanent address afterward.